All righty. Oh my God. Breaking news, everybody. Breaking. John Tortorella out as head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers. I am Bill Kornfeld, host of the Orange and Backcheck podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Emergency reaction going on right now. As always, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network and DraftKings Sportsbook. Make sure you use promo code THPN when reacting and signing up. I mean, give me your thoughts, everybody. What is going on? I mean, it's just, I thought this day was going to happen. I'm shocked it did. Right now, I think this was always inevitable. Hold on one second. Two Torts. I'm just setting up all my being let go by the Flyers. YouTube and TikTok. Yeah, I cannot believe that we are here. I did not think that this was going to happen. I am genuinely shocked that this happened. I thought that, I'm not live on TikTok. Oh, yes, I am. We're good. Yeah, we're good. So I'm pleasantly shocked and pleasantly surprised. I am glad that this happened. I think Torts was gonna be out as coach anyway after this season. I think he was gonna be let go in the season in the off season. I think the writing was on the wall. They did not want to give him an extension. It was very clear they wanted him to be the quote unquote lame duck coach heading into next season. And that is not something that Torts goes with. So Bradshaw is stepping in as the interim head coach. Look, there's no one on this current coaching staff that will be here next year. We just posted a video the other day, this morning, about how Rocky Thompson must be fired by the Flyers because he's also a terrible head coach. So there was absolutely no way that any of these head coaches were going to be back, or coaches for that matter. Like, it was absolutely going to be new coaching staff, new system. And look, what I will say is this. Like, there's no there was nothing inherently bad about John Tortorella being the head coach here. What he was here to do was to change the culture of what this team is. When you got to remember, when John Tortorella came in, it was an absolute piss poor performance in the terms of the team was headed in a nowhere direction. They had a very bad remember the Mike Yeo quote that Bobby Bowden couldn't even fix this team or coach this team. Like, this is where they were as a team because of the previous regimes, all the way back from Alain Vigneault and even before that, in terms of that. But obviously, what John Tortorella was coming in here for was not to get them as contenders in the sense of that he was going to be the coach of the team when this went down. What John Tortorella was here to do was to just get through the grime and the muck and all that shit of where this team was. And he did that. So I think he achieved what he set out to do in the sense of all he was here for was to get the culture fixed with the Philadelphia Flyers. The Flyers stuff was an absolute mess at that time. You got to remember that. Like, it was terrible positioning of where this team was. In that, what set this team off, or excuse me, what caused this team what caused Danny Briere to say, all right, I got to move on, was clearly that quote by John Tortorella after they got absolutely demolished by the Toronto Maple Leafs the other night, 7-2. When paraphrasing, I'll pull up the quote in a minute. John Tortorella basically said, I don't want to get used to having to coach a season like this. Well, then, dude, you shouldn't be here. If you want to be part of this culture change, as you continue to say that you want to be, then you have to be used to coaching these players. And I think some of these players were bought into Torts. I think they respect him. I've talked on the podcast about how I don't think that this is a coincidence that the team that John Tortorella is voted consistently the least head coach that players want to play for. Like, he is, it's tough when you are dealing with that kind of thing. It's so frustrating to watch how clearly, to some extent, the team was bought into his system. What I think was starting to rub the team the wrong way, outside of the quote after the the Toronto game, was just simply him saying, I don't want to get used to coaching this kind of season. And his inconsistent benchings of players like Matvei Michkov, who is obviously a shining star in the making for the Philadelphia Flyers and a building block for where this team is going to go. He was very inconsistent in that sense of trying to figure out where this team was headed, basically. Like, he hadn't done it in a while, thankfully. I mean, Michkov is already on a tear. He has 50 points plus on the season, most of any rookie this quarter century in the last 25 years for any for any Philadelphia Flyers team. So, like, it's obvious that they respected Michkov in that way. What I don't think people were buying into was simply just Torts' system anymore. What sucks about Torts, not sucks, like, I'm trying to find the correct wording. Like, it's tough in the sense, like, I think Eric Johnson said it recently on a podcast. He said that there's nobody that cares more about his players than John Tortorella. And I believe him. I really do. The problem comes in how he sometimes treats his players, if that makes sense. Like, I can't quite put my finger on what it is about Torts that rubs people the wrong way. But it rubs people the wrong way, and that's why we're now being led by Brad Shaw. And Brad Shaw is not going to be here any longer than John Tortorella, in the sense of he's out after this season. They're all out. Everybody's out. So, love to get your reaction. Let me know what you think. What's this? Anyway, I'd love to hear what your reaction is when it comes to this. Let me know what you're thinking. I mean, it's crazy that this happened now with 15 games left. I didn't think that was going to happen. I really didn't. I thought this was going to be a end of season type of move. That thing was going to be happening after that in the offseason. I did not think that this was going to be now. Especially an opening day. Like, I'm in here getting ready for 3:00 or whatever time the Phillies play today. They got the Phillies opening day today against the Nationals down in Washington, and now we're talking about the Flyers. So I love it. It's a lot of fun. I any day that we can talk about the Flyers. And we will do an emergency podcast. Scott will join me later, so make sure you follow us on all the platforms for the post show, or where we post our podcast. That's where we'll be. So make sure you join in. But I'd love to get your reaction if you have one. Join in on the fun. I mean, it's a big considered move. Like, all of a sudden, we wake up, what was it, probably about an hour and 10 minutes ago now, that Danny Briere has moved on from, here, I'll pull up the quote too. Danny Briere has moved on from the team with John Tortorella. So, like, it's absolutely crazy. All right, so here's the official quote from the Philadelphia Flyers Twitter page just after 9 o'clock. So a little less than 9 o'clock, a little less than an hour ago. But the story started to leak probably a little bit before that. But the official statement reads, quote, "Today I made the difficult decision to move on from John as our head coach," said Briere. John played a vital role in our rebuild. He set a standard of play and reestablished of what it means to be a Philadelphia Flyer. John's passion on the bench was only equaled by his charitable work in our community. As we moved into the next chapter of this rebuild, I felt it was the best move for our team. I felt this was the best for our team to move forward. I'd like to thank John for his tireless work and commitment to the Philadelphia Flyers. Look, all that tells me is this was going to happen either way. This was 100% expedited because of his quote after, Tuesday night's game against Toronto when they got absolutely throttled 7-2 in Toronto. And he said, I am not built to get, I'm paraphrasing. He said something along the lines of, I don't want to ever get used to having to coach this type of season. Well, dude, that's the season you are dealt, so get used to it. Figure out how you get your Flyers or your team in a good position to win. Now, you could argue they shouldn't be trying to win. They need to be tanking, and I don't disagree with that. I think we have to do our tankathon spin later today, and I think we'll do that. We'll do that live on the air. Let me pull it up, and we'll do that live. So if you have a reaction, I'd love to hear it. I think this was the right move, albeit a surprising move in the sense I didn't see this coming today. I saw this happening at the end of the season, type of thing. I definitely did not think this was going to be done with 15, 14 games left in the season. So a lot of craziness when it comes to that is now happening. So I love it. I think it's a good move. I think it's only right that they move on from him. I don't want to call John Tortorella a lame duck coach, but I think his message was getting stale, for a lack of a better phrase. I think one of the biggest concerns I had, and we talked about this on the pod, was that he clearly, what made me nervous was the fact that we were kind of repeating without the playoff contention of last season to this season. The team is completely falling apart at the wheels, seemingly, in these last couple of 2.5 months, month and a half in the season, and there seems to be just no end in sight in terms of that. So I think the fact that they made this move now simply just tells me that they are ready to move on. I just didn't think Torts he was never here to win, in the sense of he was not going to be the head coach when they won or contended for a Stanley Cup. But who the hell knows when we're actually going to be contending for a Stanley Cup when these things are, always happening. It always seems to be 2 or 3 years away, All right. So let's do this. Give me 1 second. Let's do this. Let's do a tankathon. Let me make sure that everyone can see it. The screen is gonna go black for a second. Can you see that? Okay, cool. All right, let's scroll it down just a little bit. So here's today's tankathon. We'll spin this bad boy today. Do a nice little spinny spin on where the Flyers are going to sit. So right now the Flyers have the 5th. They moved up. That's a quality loss. They have lost 6 straight games currently. So that's kind of crazy. So now they have the 4th best odds. Oh, I just had a lisp there. Oh, boy. That's kind of crazy. Okay. We're going to spin this, see where we land for today's Tankathon lottery. Rightly appropriate, thanks to... Okay, so this one would have us drop. So that's not great. So we'll save that just so I can tweet that out. Make sure you follow Orange and Backcheck wherever you get your podcast. Would love to hear from you. always a good time when we can do that. But yeah, so we spun them and we got to 5th, and I think it's only appropriate that it gets to that point. So I'd love to get your reaction if you have one. We'll do a full-blown podcast with Scott Weinhardt, co-host of the Orange and Back Check podcast. I thank you, as always, for joining us. We'll be on here for a few more minutes. But if you have a reaction, make sure it's known. We are live on TikTok and on the YouTube page, so make sure you give us a follow on that if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate it if you could hang out with us and say hi. But love to get your reaction to John Tortorella getting fired, or because today's opening day, we can change it up to Phillies talk as well if you want. But we are mainly a hockey podcast, obviously. And breaking news, if you missed it, John Tortorella is hot. Jesus. Well, he is hot. In the sense of he's been fired as head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers about just a little under an hour ago. The Flyers made it official. Story started to leak a little bit before that because of it's got to be because of the quote after the Toronto game. That's all I keep coming back to. I know I sound like a broken record, but I think that's what it was. I think Briere saw the writing on the wall, and that kind of quote definitely can rub players the wrong way, for sure. It just kind of doesn't sit right with certain players, and like when that happens, now I'm not expecting stories to come out in a month or whatever in the off season that players approach Danny Briere and be like, yo, we got to get this guy out of here. I think this was solely a Danny Briere decision. I mean, we just read the quote a couple of minutes ago of why he let him go, or his decision to let him go. And you don't make that decision with 15 games to go or whatever the number is without some sort of spark or catalyst to get you there. And clearly that catalyst was that quote. Like, if John Tortorella, did not say that quote after the Toronto game of him not wanting to get used to games like that or coaching seasons like this, he would still be the head coach for the rest of the season. He was still going to be fired. I can guarantee you that. He was still going to be let go. They were not going to give him quotes, or excuse me, an extension prior to next season when he is getting in the final year of his deal. Like, he was 100% always going to be fired. The shocking thing is the fact that he decided to be fired, or Danny Briere decided to fire him today. Like, that is, like, let's take a look here. Let's pull up. So they have the 4th best odds to move on, or excuse me, to get the draft pick. Like, here, take a look here. Here we go. News update. John Tortorella relieved of his duty, so that's official on their website. All that fun stuff. You can see it there, as well as a couple of other things. But, like, they have, let's see, they're in the second to last or last. Yeah, they're now second to last, 1 point behind Buffalo when it comes to the final spot. They are significantly worse than Buffalo in terms of goal differential. That's crazy. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me see. Flyers are minus 52 when it comes to goal differential. Yeah, I can't get it over. Let's do this. Maybe that'll help. Bear with me, chat. Like, that is insane. TikTok, if you're joining us for the very first time, make sure you tap the screen and get us pushed out by just leaving a couple of likes. I would greatly appreciate that. So, yeah, like minus 52, minus 28, lost. Oh, wait, they lost 2 in a row? That doesn't make sense. Oops. I definitely thought it said lost 6 in a row. Didn't it say lost 6 in a row on Tankathon? Maybe I was reading someone else. I don't know. Either way. Oh, they don't even have 15 games left. We have 9 games left. You know what this reminds me of? You know what this does definitely remind me of? It reminds me of when they let go of not John Tortorella, of Alain Vigneault. This is a nice parallel to that. If you remember when Alain Vigneault was let go, Mike Yeo came in, and the team was distraught. Like, there was absolutely no winning. That was a strictly move because the voice in the room clearly fell apart. Mike Yo even said Bobby Bowden couldn't even coach this team. And that was culturally significant. The fact that that was said to this team in the public eye is a crazy momentum swing for where this team sits. Like, that is absolutely crazy that happened. The parallel is, same thing is happening here, but you feel the sense of direction that this team can go. It's not a lost cause. Like, it's not like we're in dire straits like we were when Mike Yo was appointed interim head coach. I don't expect Brad Shaw to be the head coach next year. I don't expect Rocky Thompson to be here next year. Thank God. We just posted on TikTok and YouTube and all that fun stuff that, hold on. No, we're good. That Rocky Thompson has to go. I anticipated Rocky Thompson to be the first coach to be let go, honestly. I didn't anticipate this. Like, this is a shock, and just kind of like, we have to make a move now to make a move. Like, there was absolutely no reason other than the quote from Toronto that had to let go John Tortorella. That's the only reason. Truly, that is the only reason John Tortorella was fired today instead of the end of the season in 10 games or 7 games, whatever it is. I think it's 9 games. They're at 73. I do not think John Tortorella would have been fired today if he didn't say that line. If he said just his typical BS of being nonchalant with the media, he would still be the head coach. But because he decided to say, I am not here to learn how to coach a season like this, that expedited this whole thing. So we'll do a full-blown reaction with Scott Weinhardt hopefully tonight. So keep an ear out for that. We'll drop it in the Spotify and all the fun stuff wherever you listen, wherever you get your podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We're going to head out of here. Just a quick little reaction. We did, 15 minutes, give or take? How long have we been live? Oh, 20 minutes. Cool. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I will be back later today. Make sure you hang out. We'll do a little bit more. Make sure you follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, all that fun stuff. Thank you so much for watching. I am Bill Kornfeld. Again, Orange and Backcheck Podcast, emergency reaction podcast. John Tortorella is out as head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers. So good stuff